everyone, it's Jack from Cultaholic.com and it's time for some more lovely wrestling news. What a fine Thursday, what a fine day for news it is. So, without any further ado, let's take a look at those lovely headlines. First of all, AEW have confirmed the opponents for FTR in their in-ring debut. Next up, big changes have been made to a huge upcoming wrestling event. And finally, WWE and AEW could see a return of live audiences very soon. So let's start off with that story about FTR, formerly known of course as The Revival in WWE, and last week on Dynamite you will probably know by now they made a shock debut. But they didn't have a match in their shock debut, they just crashed the arena in their lovely vehicle, kind of a pickup truck sort of effort if I remember rightly, got in the ring and saved the Young Bucks from a beatdown at the hands of the Butcher and the Blade. This was a bit of a surprise because at first FTR squared up as if they were going to join in the beatdown on the Young Bucks before then turning the tide and throwing the heels out of the ring or dealing with them with a couple of double team moves, including a lovely Brainbusters-esque spike pile driver. Now obviously at some point in the future there 99% has to be a match between FTR and the Young Bucks, because that's been building up for years and years despite the two being in different companies for like all of their careers pretty much. But instead of just immediately going all in, no pun intended, on that match, instead AEW have gone, right, let's delay that for the future. Let's first book FTR against their debut in-ring opponents, the Butcher and the Blade. FTR were having a sit-down interview with Tony Schiavone when they were interrupted by the Butcher and the Blade, and it set up a match between the two teams, which is set to take place next week on Dynamite. I would suggest heavily that FTR are probably going to win. But it'll be great, certainly, to see both Dax Harwood and Cash Wheeler, or Scott Dawson and Dash Wilder, in the ring once again, especially if they're allowed to wrestle with a bit more freedom than perhaps they were afforded on the WWE main roster, not including their NXT run, which was, of course, absolutely excellent and propelled them into contention as like one of the best tag teams in the world. And another really exciting thing is that they're going to be mixing it up with some of the best tag teams in the world. A lot has been said about the strength of AEW's tag team division, and a lot has been said because it's pretty much true. They've got some excellent tag teams in there, from the Lucha Brothers to the Young Bucks, of course, to Best Friends if you want a bit of comedy, but they can go in the ring as well. Private Party, young teams like that. They've got such a good tag division. Kenny Omega and Hangman Page as well, for God's sake. So I, for one, can't wait to see FTR mix it up with some of these tag teams, and I'm sure that you can't as well. Next up, there have been changes to a major wrestling event coming up in the near future. That's right, it's time to talk about AEW's upcoming, well, we thought it was going to be a pay-per-view, but it's not, Fyter Fest. Now obviously there were already huge changes made to this event because of the whole lockdown situation, but at the same time it was recently revealed by AEW, I believe by Tony Khan himself, that Fyter Fest was supposed to take place in London, England, and we were all very disappointed that it couldn't happen, of course. But instead, you know, it's just going to take place in the States under the current lockdown regulations, I assume. But AEW have announced big changes. It's not going to be a pay-per-view anymore, and even more than that, it's going to be spread out over 2 weeks. Yes, Fyter Fest, in a sort of similar way to WrestleMania 36, is going to be a 2-day event, but those 2 days aren't going to come, you know, consecutively. It's going to be 1 week of Dynamite and then the next week of Dynamite. Fyter Fest is going to take place on Dynamite. Or I don't know if it's going to be branded as Dynamite, but I suppose it's more accurate to say it'll be taking place on TNT in their usual slot, I imagine, on July 1st and July 8th. So it'll be interesting to see what AEW do about this, and I don't really know the reason behind why they've chosen to do this, but they did announce it last night on Dynamite, so there must be a good reason, I suppose. Maybe it's to lighten the schedule for their wrestlers, maybe, I don't know, because obviously we've seen in WWE, for example, there have been long, quite grueling days for those involved, especially those standing around the ring acting as like the makeshift crowd. And that's because WWE are currently doing, you know, they're taping Raw, SmackDown, NXT in your house that's coming up as well, and Backlash too at some point in the near future. So you can imagine that the schedule is pretty jam-packed. So maybe AEW have done this to lighten the load, saying, right, we'll not worry about pay-per-view, we'll just have 2 weekly mini sort of versions of this planned pay-per-view. We only know 2 matches planned for Fyter Fest so far. We don't know whether it's going to take place on week 1 or week 2, which of the matches is going to be where, but I'm sure that'll all become apparent in the next few weeks. The first match that we know of is the AEW World Championship match between the champion Jon Moxley and Brian Cage, who of course won the Casino ladder match at Double or Nothing. And the other match is the tag team title match between Kenny Omega and Hangman Page, the champions, and their challengers best friends who beat Private Party on the pre-show of Double or Nothing to become #1 contenders. Next up, it was announced recently by Governor DeSantis of the state of Florida that Florida is going to be entering phase 2 or stage 2 of reopening. This means that restaurants, bars and cinemas will open at 50% capacity, but the establishments also have to make sure they keep customers 6 feet apart. But there appear to be some other details in here as well that could relate to the wrestling world, specifically perhaps implying that WWE and AEW could run shows in front of big live audiences once again. I have to give a shout out to our news writer Aidan, who did quite a lot of good research on this and deciphered the political speak of Governor DeSantis, which I couldn't possibly hope to do because I'm not good at politics. That's not true, I did it at school. Got an A, so I'm just lying to you now. So according to our notes here, large and sports venues, I think sports venues come under the umbrella of large venues, can also reopen at 50%, provided upon the following. So large venues, e.g. sit-down dining, movie theatres, sporting venues, places of worship, etc., can operate under moderate physical distancing protocols. Now I know you're thinking, yes, this could mean that WWE and AEW could run live shows again, but it could also mean that they can't, because how are they classed? Are they a sport or are they entertainment? Well, there's also entertainment businesses covered in this little report, and there's a bit of a section on that as well, so let's check out what that says. Entertainment businesses including but not limited to movie theatres, concert houses, auditoriums, playhouses, bowling alleys and arcades may operate at 50% capacity with appropriate social distancing and sanitisation protocols. So very similar guidelines to the sporting venue section that I just read before. Now obviously it's not my place to say whether I think this is too soon or not. I think it definitely is too soon, but it seems as though WWE and AEW could start having actual fans, not just extras, at their shows again, if they so wish, if they agree that it's soon enough to safely do so. Obviously, this is courtesy of Governor DeSantis of Florida, who seems to have deemed it appropriate to reopen a lot of different venues. And of course, pay attention to those guidelines, because if they do start inviting fans back to their wrestling shows, I doubt AEW and WWE broadcasts will look quite the same as what we're used to. I mean, they will have to only fill the venues to 50% capacity and keep everybody 6 feet apart. So we'll probably see like pockets of fans here and there who are from the same household, and then just like individual fans scattered around. It's gonna look weird if they do it, isn't it? In fact, I wonder if having those fans back would actually improve the atmosphere of the show or just make it a bit weird, because right now, certainly AEW and WWE to a degree seem to have nailed the art now of getting a bit of atmosphere at their shows by having the wrestlers act as fans. It does sort of make sense. I don't know if having the fans back so soon, well, first of all, I don't know if I agree with it from a health standpoint, but I also don't know if it would make for a good atmosphere if they were all forced to stand so far apart. Next up, let's go over to NXT, where a big title match has been added officially to the card for NXT TakeOver in Your House, which of course is taking place this Sunday. The match in question is Adam Cole defending his NXT Championship against Velveteen Dream. However, there is a special stipulation, or two, should I say, two special stipulations. Now, there were a lot of rumours and speculation in the build-up to this, and reports that NXT were filming another one of these cinematic matches, and that was going to be the match between Cole and Velveteen Dream. It certainly seems like this is the case, because it was confirmed on NXT this week that that match is going to be a backlot brawl, which we haven't seen the likes of since WrestleMania 12 between Goldust and Roddy Piper. Now obviously that match went a bit off the wall. I'm not so certain if this one's going to be quite as silly, even though it does feature Velveteen Dream, one of the more flamboyant members of the WWE roster, but I think this one sounds more gritty and more rooted in reality, because it seems like apparently everyone's going to pull up their cars in a circle, they're going to brawl in the middle of it. They could end up driving off somewhere, I don't know, and part of me wants that to be true, but we'll just have to wait and see. The other stipulation of the match concerns Velveteen Dream. Apparently if he loses, he can never have another shot at the NXT Championship so long as Adam Cole is champion. And it wasn't the only match announced for In Your House last night. It was also announced that Mia Yim, Tegan Nox and Shotzi Blackheart, what a babyface team, will face the heel team of Candice LeRae, Dakota Kai and Raquel Gonzalez in a 6-woman tag team match at the event. So the whole card for the event has shaped up like this. We've got the world title match between Cole and Dream, we've got the 6-woman tag team match, and we have the following. Obviously, NXT Women's Champion Charlotte Flair will defend her title against Rhea Ripley and Io Shirai in a triple threat. Keith Lee will defend his North American Championship against Johnny Gargano. Tommaso Ciampa will face Karrion Kross, and Finn Balor will take on Damian Priest. But that's not the only thing we have to address about NXT last night. I have to give you an update on the NXT Cruiserweight Championship situation, or should I say the interim Cruiserweight Championship situation. No, I shouldn't apparently, because WWE seem to have kind of forgotten about that. So last night it was the tournament final between Drake Maverick and El Hijo del Fantasma, formerly known of course as King Cuerno in Lucha Underground, one of my boys in that promotion. They were having a fight, they were wrestling in the final of the interim Cruiserweight Championship tournament to decide who would be the interim Cruiserweight Champion, because Jordan Devlin is still over in Ireland and can't fly back obviously to defend his actual Cruiserweight Championship. I'm not going to spoil the result of the match in case you haven't seen it yet. However, you can check out Tom's breakdown of it on Graded Today, or even in his news video, which is already up on the channel before this one. However, I will talk about the fact that the new champion wasn't announced as the interim Cruiserweight Champion. They were announced as just the NXT Cruiserweight Champion. What about Jordan Devlin? So there are two possibilities here in my mind. One, they are simply just dropping the interim thing for now, so everybody stops thinking about Jordan Devlin until he can fly back over and presumably have a title unification match with the current champion. Or two, they've just scrapped Jordan Devlin's title reign, which seems ludicrous, which does seem ludicrous. And don't worry guys, because I have checked on wikipedia.com and the new champion and Devlin are both listed as champions, and they even have the little plus next to the number of days of their reign, which means that it's still ongoing. We've all checked list of champion articles on Wikipedia before. Don't lie to me. You love facts and stats just as much as I do. My sad life. So yeah, hopefully for Devlin's sake, it's the former, where they've just called them the NXT Cruiserweight Champion so that we forget about Devlin for now, and then when he comes back, it's got more impact. Hopefully they haven't just scrapped his title reign, and that would be terrible. Well, that wouldn't just be terrible for him, that would be terrible for the NXT UK brand, because it would just sort of confirm the suspicions of many that WWE aren't really taking that brand seriously or treating it as importantly as every other brand under its umbrella. But that is it for now. Thank you very much for watching this video. I have been Jack from Cultaholic.com. Leave your thoughts and opinions on any of the stories here in that comment section down below. Remember that Extreme Rules match that Aleister Black and Adam Cole had? That's one of my favourite Adam Cole matches in WWE. So because we talked about Adam Cole just before, I reckon let's, and because it's NXT TakeOver in your house at the weekend, obviously, let's say that that is my recommended match of this video today. Was it TakeOver Philadelphia? I think it was that. Aleister Black versus Adam Cole. Don't watch it if you've got a fear of blood coming from the hand, because it's not the match for you if that's the case. Thank you very much once again for watching. I've been Jack from Cultaholic.com. Yeah, leave your thoughts in the comment section down below. Stay safe out there, stay positive, and I'll see you very soon.